And in week 15, we have our first Saturday slate. Let's kick things off here with the Minnesota Vikings at the Cincinnati Bengals. 1 p.m. kickoff on Saturday as we record on Friday afternoon. The Bengals are a juiced 3-point favorite. You can also find a juiced 3.5 on the Vikings if you are interested. Total in this one sitting at 40.5. And for me, Adam, I did bet on the Bengals as 4-point dogs earlier in the week. To me, this was a bit of an overreaction after the look ahead was -1. Josh Dobbs is not the quarterback anymore. Justin Jefferson didn't play in that game for the most part last week. It looks like he's going to be healthy in this one. But I still kind of feel a little queasy because maybe this Jake Browning thing is real for Cincinnati. So not one of my more confident bets, but I thought it was a bit of an overreaction. I'm curious what you think about the Bengals at this point after a couple of good games from Browning.
Yeah, I think that you have to look at the Cincinnati Bengals in much the same way that you look at the San Francisco 49ers and say, at some point, the weapons are going to make the quarterback. And at some point, Jake Browning doesn't have to be Joe Burrow. He just has to be something that is a reasonable facsimile of an NFL quarterback. And when you have Chase and Boyd and Higgins out there, and now the emergence of a guy like Chase Brown giving you some quickness out of the backfield, it seems like maybe whatever Jake Browning is will be sufficient. What I really liked about the Bengals in their game last week and rewatching this was the amount of early down play action I saw from what Zach Taylor was calling. When we've had trouble in the past with the Bengals, it's been Zach Taylor calling a lot of early down runs and kind of neutering what the Cincinnati offense can do. Well, he didn't do that with Jake Browning, right? He kind of knew, hey, Joe Burrow can get me out of some of these 2nd and 3rd and longs. I don't want to put Jake Browning in those 2nd and 3rd and longs. And they put them in better game state. So I like what I've seen out of the Cincinnati offense. The question at this point is going to be, I don't really know what the Minnesota offense is, right? We have no idea what Nick Mullins is going to be. He looked good in that final drive in which he got the only 3 points that Minnesota scored in Las Vegas. But at the same time, I don't know what I'm getting out of Justin Jefferson. He says he's good to go, right? But we don't know if he'll be in any way physically limited when he's out there from the injury that he suffered last week. So the only way I feel comfortable with this game, and again, lean not play, is to the over 40.5. If you believe that Jake Browning is anything of the real deal, then you think that the weapons he has will be able to help hold off Brian Flores' blitzing scheme, right? Because that's really what your concern would be that you got a rookie quarterback going against a guy who is blitzing and blitzing well against some younger quarterbacks. But at some point when you blitz, it's man coverage everywhere, and you have the guys to beat that man coverage with the Cincinnati team.
Yeah, I think, the people who are doubting Jake Browning will point to the ADOT and say it's basically football in easy mode, to which I would say if Flores is blitzing, a quick, short ADOT is kind of what you're looking for. Like, we saw the very, very extreme version of that when the Bears played Minnesota a couple of weeks ago. For me, the reasons I bet Minnesota +4 earlier in the week, and I would still be okay betting Minnesota +3.5 here. To me, it's the difference between thinking the Bengals are going to win the game and now requiring them to win by more than a field goal. So I get the adjustment off the look ahead, but past 3 to me seemed pretty extreme. And this is still a Cincinnati defense that is pretty bad. They're still 26th by EPA, 31st by success rate. So offenses have moved the ball. As a 49ers fan, I am acutely aware that Nick Mullins in his career, going all the way back to college, has a tendency to turn the ball over. He's averaging like 1 interception per game, so don't really feel great about that. But I do think this is by far the biggest test that Jake Browning will have faced. If you look at what Brian Flores has done, it's really impressive. The last 3 opponents that they have faced, their offenses have had one of the 3 worst games they've had all season. So I'm willing to sell high a little bit here on Browning. I need the 3.5 to consider Minnesota, but that's kind of where I landed on that one.